Here we are again. More art crit, lit crit, film crit. Really music crit to crit. Why don't I just say crit? Crit section. Caravaggio Enigma. This might be a novel. Hold on a second. No. It's just a kind of cutting edge biography. Huh. Michelangelo. I used to have a huge Dylan library. I still have a bunch of Dylan books. Have I read this one? I don't know. I read books by Clinton Halen. Dylan's fun to read about. You know, I'm not like as anti-celebrity as some people are. I feel like celebrities are avatars for discussions. We can't talk about every human. There's too many humans. So we choose representatives, And, it's kind of interesting that we create these communities on a larger scale through shared references and things like that. Parasocial communities is kind of, wow. What we got here? The rest is noise. Listening to the 20th century. Oh, I love stuff like this. Surveys of music and sound. I'm glad to see this. I'm moving that up my to read list. I freaking love stuff like this. Marxism and literature. This is going to be great. Will fill me with class rage and give me a new lens for reading. Look at that great cover, too. Speaking of great covers, I found this at a thrift store, a little thrift store in Escalante, Utah, on a road trip working for a wilderness camp. Me and 2 staffers and 13 teenagers overrunning this little town in Utah. And man, that thrift store had such good stuff. That's where I got Finnegan's Wake and a skeleton key to Finnegan's Wake. I did already have a Finnegan's Wake, but it's down there. Or maybe that's a commentary. Oh, that's a commentary. Maybe I didn't then. Yes, I did. There it is. Yeah, Finnegan's Wake. But oh man, I love old art books and stuff. Look how pretty. That's just like, that is a good looking book. Folk art. That's cool. Imaginative literature 1 from Homer to Shakespeare. I'm sure if I read this and like it, I'll track down the others. But that is a beautiful looking book. Renaissance profiles. Eventually you just gotta like start caring about literally everything and find everything interesting. James Wood, The Nearest Thing to Life. James Wood, he's that critic for the New Yorker. I read his book about how fiction works. This one, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I want to create like a classroom program where you can plug your own information, like whatever you know about your family history, into this computer program, and then you get a sort of like Ancestry.com type feed, results sheet telling you, family trees and so on. But then there would be larger historical matrices established that you would fit all that into. So you could like learn about history with your ancestors involved in it. And like, I'll tell you, I started caring about history a lot more when I started like connecting my ancestors, my genes, with real events. Like the Salem witch trials, I have so many connections to that story, for instance. And anyway, I bet my ancestors were all over the Renaissance, playing jangly music in courtyards and stuff. And probably a lot of other people's too, It's cool to just learn about different stuff. And the Renaissance is a neat time because, art was blooming and stuff. This is an art book from an old friend of mine, Jenna, who I haven't seen in a long time, that I knew in college. And she was a super cool artist, probably still is. I'm sure still is. Book of Nerves. It's cool. I've gone through this like very slowly, and it's a cool experience actually. This book does the art things right. Picasso. Another one of those people that when you look at the details of their lives, some people want to just be like, let's never talk about him because, he was like not always great with women, or I don't know. killed 10 people. Like, no, I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. But he's definitely like, there's been a lot written about his character and so on. Like there was a stand-up comedy special. Who did that? Nanette. That really was like, Picasso sucks. But, he was revolutionary and really did advance art. And I like to learn about people like that. And he did a lot for a lot of art scenes, yeah. Speaking of problematic figures, here's Felix Feneon again. This is the book that introduced me to him. Just these little vignettes of news stories. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Contrabandist sailors, custom agents, seeks from Navy ships, a great deal of tobacco. Yeah. I think this got moved from another shelf. Hello again. History of English Literature. Like, that's just a cool looking book, Who doesn't want to read? And it's illustrated. So awesome. I'll have to be gentle with that binding. This I have, it's about classic rock, music writing. Stephen Hyden, he writes for avclub.com, and I used to really love that website. It's changed many times over the years, but he used to have a series on there called Whatever Happened to Alternative Nation that looked at the 90s decade by decade and had a lot of good insights and was well researched and I think funny. Anyway, so I want to read that. Great Pretenders, My Strange Love Affair with 50s Pop Music. I have this in part because it's the rare work of music criticism by a woman. There's not that many books by women. Woody Guthrie, A Life. That's pretty good. By Joe Klein, the guy who wrote Anonymous, that political book. Got really into Woody Guthrie for a while. There are some disturbing details about Woody Guthrie's young life with farm animals. My goodness, did not love reading that. Let's see, Philip Roth. Werner Herzog is just one of the best directors ever. I love a lot of Werner Herzog movies. Okay, so I have 4, 5, and 6 of the Norton anthologies. And I have 2 in a different edition. See last video. But I still need to get 1 and 3. Then I will be free to do the project. There might be another one since. But I read a lot of that in a literature class at UNM. And I swear this was like a magic literature class on a different plane of existence because nobody else has ever heard of this teacher that I've ever mentioned him to. This guy was named Ronald Schumacher. He never offered another class again that I could ever find on the UNM syllabus. I could never find anybody that met him. My friend Lisa was in that class, but I am pretty sure she would also be blessed with a magic writing literature class on an alternate plane because it's kind of weird. Every lecture was so amazing, and he used these books as his textbooks, but then we read our own editions of the books that were in them if we had them. And I don't know, man. There's some good stuff in there. Those books introduced me to Basho, the Japanese poet and nature writer, to Moliere, and the very hilarious play Tartuffe. I mean, that's funny. And I like Dostoevsky's take on it too, A Friend of the Family. Anyway, great books. Oh, some many really good ones whose names aren't coming to me right now, but from all over the world. Just given a real good variety. Yeah. This is gonna be kind of a shorter video for me. Usually I go 10 minutes talking about these. So yeah, we're just moving through the art crit, through the crit. Felix Feneon really did shape my life. After I started writing New Mexico News, my version of novels and thrillers, his was 1906 France. It got picked up and turned into a newspaper for a little while by LM Duplications, the record label. And yeah, that thing had some legs. We did a live event with a Hawk and a Hacksaw and John Dietrich from Deerhoof playing music, and me reading my novels in 3 lines, basically, for my New Mexico News over it. It was a fun, weird scene. See, I don't know. Maybe y'all are getting the idea by now, hearing me ramble, going through these bookcases, that these books are all like very personal, you know? Like my life is tied in with them. They're not just like, random bricks picked up off the street or something like that. They a lot of times there's personal connection or something or whatever. You all know if you have your own book collections, you have the books you keep for sentimental reasons. You have the books you keep because they've got one thing in them that you might want to consult at some point. You know it. Books you just know you're going to reread. Books you just want to keep around to remind you of when you read them, Rereading's always possible then, too, so that's nice. But, when Roth was alive, I was always like 1 degree away from him. I knew somebody that knew somebody. Oh, wait, so 2 degrees away. That was really like friends with Roth. But I was like, a casual fan. I'd read Portnoy's Complaint, and that was it. And but it's always interesting when you're like, oh man, I could talk to that person, I suppose, if I wanted to. Anyway, all right. Well, to be continued. But why, you might be asking? Why? Why are you doing this project? You're just looking at all your bookcases, at all the shelves, and just saying what you have and talking about them? Yep. This is kind of inspired by the YouTube channel Cartoon Kayfabe, for Cartoonist Kayfabe, I think that's what it's called. Cartoonist Kayfabe. And it's, Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor, R.I.P. Ed Piskor. They just would look at all these comic books in their collection and you'd only ever see their hands. And I was like, this is a totally satisfying channel to me. And I really enjoyed watching that channel. So I think now that I'm thinking about it, that was kind of the model for this channel. But regular books are much less visually compelling, I guess people could say, because they're not illustrated, all of them. But I don't know, there's a tactile component. Whatever. All right, I'm done.